Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fpa200 Presentation and I'm from 81104F. Today we are going to present about solution in solving issue of deforestation in oil palm for Fpa200. This is our group members, Nur Afia Amisha, Siti Nofatia, Ahmad Wazif, and Naufal Akram.
Okay, next for the description. The jungle cover land where palm oil is grown has always been a major issue. Although it originated in Africa, Malaysia and Indonesia currently generate 85% of the global supply. Clearing land for plantation involves burning rainforests, harming rare species and emitting 100 times the greenhouse gas produced by ordinary forest fires on peatland. And demand is on the rise by 2022. The global market is estimated to have grown to $88 billion in value. Plantation of oil palm now occupy more than 27 million hectares of the planet's surface. Palm oil is grown in the tropics and plantation clearing has resulted in the destruction of animal swaths of lush, verdant rainforests. Palm oil plantations are growing at a faster rate than nearly any other agriculture crop. Elephants, orangutans, rhinos and tigers among other native animals have been displaced from their homes, and some indigenous people have been displaced from their land and robbed of their livelihood. The chopping down and burning of trees have also contributed to climate change. The tropic warm, humid atmosphere provides ideal growing conditions for oil palm. Huge swaths of rainforest are being bulldozed or burned every day in Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Africa to make way for new plantation, releasing massive amount of carbon into the sky. As a result, Malaysia is the second largest producer of palm oil in the world in terms of greenhouse gas emission. Palm oil-based biofuels have 3 times the climate effect of standard fossil fuel due to their carbon dioxide and methane emission. Palm oil is not only detrimental for the environment, but it also puts endangered animals like the orangutans, Borneo elephants, and Sumatran tiger on the verge of extinction. Smallholder and indigenous people who have lived in the forest for generations and protect it are frequently evicted. More than 700 land conflicts in Indonesia are linked in the palm oil business, even on ostensibly sustainable and organic crops. Human type violations are commonplace. Okay, next.
Okay, so next we go for the causes of deforestation in oil palm. First is arrival of ozone-depleting substance discharge. Timberland are the biggest earthly store of carbon, yet deforestation is the biggest wellspring of carbon dioxide emanation after petroleum derivative consuming, causing 50% of worldwide ozone-harming substance discharge. It ought to be noticed that changing over upland, deep through-cups woodland into palm oil ranches doesn't trap as much carbon for a long time. Second, disturbed water cycle. Because of deforestation, trees at this point don't vanish groundwater and precipitation rate and diminish, which can make the neighborhood environment be a lot drier. Unreasonable deforestation around the Malaysian capital of Kuala Lumpur, joined with the dry condition made by El Nino, set off exacting water apportioning in 1998, and interestingly, the city needed to import water. Next is the forest flame. Intermittent flames normally concurring with the El Nino occasion consume a high number of hectares across Malaysia, particularly on the island of Borneo. The dimness from this flame and the flame in Kalimantan, Indonesia caused genuine contamination, a medical issue in Malaysia. During the 1990s and 90s, the Malaysian government responded to flame by requesting media power outages to try not to scare away sightseers over the well-being impact. Today, this has changed as the public authority progressively fault Indonesia for neglecting to control rapidly spreading fires. Such trans-limit contamination is particularly hard to control despite the fact that Asian is endeavoring to unite the gathering in question. Lastly is expanded soil disintegration. Deforestation builds pace of soil disintegration by expanding spillover and decreasing the assurance of the dirt from ground cover. Just a minority of these spaces have great soils, which subsequent to cleaning are immediately cleaned out by the weighty downpour. Along this line, crop yield decrease and individual should spend pay to import unfamiliar compost or clear extra woodland. The issue is deteriorate by inability to execute. Disintegration is complete. Now and again, in good country region where high esteem subtropical yield are delivered, the impact of disintegration are balanced by high pace of excrement and compost application. Albeit the act of the applying high pace of compost and fertilizer help in keeping up with healthy degrees of harvest creation, the unchecked misfortune of soil supplement and synthetic substance through disintegration measure add to downstream contamination and sedimentation. These are major natural issues in some high country areas of Malaysia.
Impact on plantation industry. Firstly, loss of critical habitat for endangered species. The most serious consequence of sustainable palm oil production is the widespread destruction of tropical forests. This can result in severe soil erosion as well as broad habitat loss for endangered species such as Asian rhinos, elephant tigers and orangutan. As huge animals are pushed out, there is more human-wildlife conflict. Even within Sumatra's Tesonilo National Area, which was designed to protect the endangered Sumatra tiger illegal palm oil, plantation has taken over 43% of the park. The second one, air, soil, and water pollution. Forests make way for plantation. Peatlands fires are difficult to put out and the smoke has health implications across Southeast Asia. Palm oil mills also produce a lot of wastewater which can pollute rivers and harm biodiversity and people downstream. Lastly, climate change. The draining and conversion of Indonesia tropical peat forest is especially harmful because these forests store more carbon per hectare than any other ecosystem in the world. Forest fires release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere during clearance, contributing to climate change, and Indonesia's high deforestation rate has made it the world's third largest producer of greenhouse gases.
Okay, for the strategies to solve the issue of deforestation in oil palm plantation, if palm oil production is to be sustainable, it is critical that the land used for plantation is not converted in a way that harm the environment. One of the pillars of sustainable agriculture is adherence to the principle of good agricultural practice. Oil palm should only be grown on fallow and agricultural usable land to reduce the risk of carbon emission. It is responsibility of government in produce countries to ensure that this is the case as they must address the issue of land use. Producer and consumer all along the supply chain must do their part as well. Demand for sustainable palm oil must be increased in order for Malaysia to be pioneer in the use of the certified palm oil. This provides producers with incentive to expand sustainable production. Forest users and managers are concerned about deforestation because it puts their livelihood at risk. Deforestation not only reduces the amount of available forest, but it can also harm the productivity, biodiversity, and health of surrounding forests. Deforestation drive can be found both inside and outside the forest sector, and they might be local, national, or global in scope. It typically better addressed at many scale and through cross-sectoral approach that take into account all of a landscape land use. Although forest managers play a role in deforestation, the majority of deforestation drivers, particularly underlying socio-economic and political drivers, are beyond their influence and control. Forest managers can help reduce deforestation by promoting awareness about the importance of forests in landscape and the detrimental consequence of deforestation on, on other land use. Deforestation, for example, can result in worse water quality and quantity, affecting agricultural production and other downstream water users. When sustainable forest management (SFM) is applied as part of a landscape approach and an appropriate enabling policy environment exists, forest manager and other stakeholders can assist minimize deforestation by demonstrating that forests can be a viable land use alternative with benefit for other land use. Next.
Next, for improvement to oil palm industry, a human right-based approach. Indigenous people's right to land and other rights, practice and knowledge should be taken into account. Prioritize security for peoples and communities in land tenure, food and basic human needs, educate housing, clean water, transportation, etc., complying with international laws and standards, review existing macroeconomics and trade policies and laws that contribute to escalating human rights abuse and land grabbing, adopt a human right-based approach to land ownership that takes into account human rights as enshrined in domestic and international law and policy, laws and policies on forests and lands. Malaysia needs to recognise and protect indigenous people (NCRs) to lands and resources in line with statutory provision, common law and adapt customs, including amendment to laws that are discriminatory to NCR land. It also needs to review existing Malaysian laws and policies to make language and implementation explicitly recognise human rights. There is a need to formulate an optimal land use policy with full participation of indigenous peoples and local communities, rural farmers, women, NGOs, the scientific community and governmental agencies across sectors in decision making. And next, last, definitional issue and question over deforestation statistic. The FAO and official definition and data of forest and forest-related concept need to be redefined, as well as recognition of indigenous and rural communities' view and practice. Valuation of forest good and service communities' view of forest as a source of livelihood must be taken into account according to the report. Okay, this is our reference. Okay, I think that's all from us. Thank you.